stages of the holidays for recognition of Waitangi and Anzac Day bill. A couple of things I wanted to start by saying. First of all, to the chair of the committee, David Bennett, who talked at length about disappointment. Actually, I think if anyone deserves sympathy when it gets to disappointment, it's that member who's been in this House for several years now and must be feeling very disappointed about the way his government is treating him. And in fact, we say David Bennett for Minister. David Bennett for Minister, and we would vote for you, David, if we had the chance. And then to Mr Chris Ockenville, also talked about disappointment, but I've got 2 words to say to that member. 2 words: habeas corpus. Habeas corpus. If we've ever had a members' bill so significant passed in this House, it was today, the habeas corpus bill, as we heard earlier. I wanted to point out to the members opposite that actually on Anzac Day and Waitangi Day, every year, apart from every 5 years, there is actually a holiday. It is a public holiday. So what happens is people get the day off. Some of them, and many of them these days, go off to the Anzac Day ceremonies in the morning, commemorations, first thing in the morning. Some people on Waitangi Day go off to celebrate Waitangi Day. Some people don't, but it is a holiday. So this idea that somehow, because this bill gives people a holiday once every 5 or 7 years, is cheapening those days, is quite frankly ridiculous. I also wanted to respond, Mr Chair, to the member Simon O'Connor, who spent his 10 minutes on the second reading of this bill, reading out the diary of a Gallipoli soldier who didn't come home. Now, I have to say, Mr O'Connor, I found that incredibly offensive. I thought it was using the deaths of working class men who went to the war, like my grandfather. And I say to Mr O'Connor, next time he comes out of the National Party caucus room, have a look above at the shield for the government, the Peter Fraser government, and he will see a photo of my grandfather who fought in the First World War, who came home, who joined the Labour Party, to fight for justice for working people. I know he would not begrudge the provisions in this bill. He would not, and I thought it really cheapened the memory of the people in my family, the people in everyone's family, to have done that, and I thought that was disgraceful. The other thing I thought that's been very interesting in this debate, Mr Chair, is the government seems to have forgotten its own legislation. In 2010, they passed legislation that would enable public holidays to be transferred to another day, including Waitangi and Anzac Day, including those precious days. But in 2010, the government didn't think they were precious enough to stop those being transferred, and in fact, in its legislation introducing the bill to the House, they talked about it. The bill talked about it. An example they gave in the explanatory notes said, if Waitangi Day falls on a Wednesday and an employer and a group of employees who work Monday to Friday may agree to observe Waitangi Day on the Friday. So what happened to the preciousness of Waitangi Day? And also, another example used in the bill was Anzac Day. So this government can't have it both ways. It cannot stand up in this House and say this is all about disrespecting the memory of Gallipoli and the people who've gone before us who fought for freedom and democracy, and at the same time forget that they have passed legislation that actually undermines the recognition of those important days, and in fact makes it more difficult for many workers actually to have the day off, on pay. So I just wanted to finish, Mr Chair, if I may, with a very interesting quote that we heard in the House today, and this comes from our Prime Minister. Mondayisation. I know, I don't agree with that. I mean, I think in the end this is an issue which, fair enough, I don't think, our We're not opposed, but we're not vehemently opposed. That was Prime Minister of New Zealand, John Key, who cannot make up his mind, who instructed the chair of the Select Committee to oppose it, and that's why they have, because they have no basis for it.
Called Dr. Cam Calder.